Hi, what I'm going to show you today is how to get a lovely warm contoured bronze look onto your skin and a fresh summer makeup without overloading the complexion. So we're going to talk through contouring, through giving radiance to the eye and giving you that lovely fresh summer makeup look but still with enough definition for the time of year. So we're going to start first of all by priming the skin. Now in the summertime, although you still want your lovely full, what I would call couture high-end makeup, you want to use more lightweight products so the skin doesn't feel overloaded. So I'm going to use a spray-on primer. Close your eyes, take a deep breath and hold it. And what your spray-on primer will do is control oil, set the skin and give you a smooth surface, but it's not overloading it with too much cream or textured product. This one in particular puts a liquid sealant of crystal across the skin so that before you apply the makeup's already gliding on nice and fresh. For the base, again keeping in mind that we're using a very fresh summer look, I'm going to actually use an airbrush foundation which sprays on. This allows you to buff on colour, to buff on makeup without overloading the skin again. So I like to spray it onto your buffing makeup brush and literally in circular motions buff the product onto the skin. When you're buffing anything onto the complexion, what this does is it really works it into every single part of the skin and it fuses it with the skin rather than just sitting on top of the skin. At the time of year when you're looking for a summer makeup, you really want your makeup to be held together as well as possible because your skin will be a little bit richer in oil at that time of year. So when you're buffing, it's circular motions across the complexion, building up the product till you're happy. By buffing this spray foundation on, it gives it a really highly polished finish. So although it will feel lightweight on your complexion, the coverage that you would want is there. And if you do have any little problem areas on the skin, all you need to do is stop buffing and start stippling. And that will just give you that little bit extra where you need it. Then for any detail, we'll go in with a little bit of concealer to illuminate and also to cover. You can use two types of concealer. I like to use one that does both. You would never use an illuminating concealer on a blemish, but you want it to illuminate around the eye. This one again I'm using is a high water content that will lift and radiate around the eye, but hydrate and cover on any little blemishes. So applying it underneath the eye and smoothing along, using a natural hair brush to buff the product into the complexion and taking it to the upper inner corner of the eye to give illumination. A really good tip is to take a little bit of your concealer very lightly around the nose area, just into the corners, because what that will do is lengthen the face and give radiance. This upper inside corner of the eye is actually where a lot of shadow can come from on everybody, so just taking your concealer in there and illuminating will make a huge difference to your makeup. Whatever's left from the inside corner, if you smooth across the eyelid, will start to work as a base for your eyeshadow when we come to apply that. So I'm going to do a small amount of contouring to give a lift, bronze, and add a warm summer effect to the skin. We're not going to go too over top with the contouring because it is a fresh time of year. We're trying to create a lovely light summer makeup here, but it is important to give definition. So when you contour, always keep it fresh. Try and not overload the complexion with product. You don't want to look like you're ready to go on stage. You want to look lifted and sculpted. So bring it just at the cheekbone, at the jawline, and then at the temple. And what this contour is, I'm using a bronzer to contour because what it will do is give you definition and shape, but also give you warmth. So it's cutting out the middleman and keeping the makeup as lightweight as possible for summertime. When you're using any sort of bronzer, no matter what skin tone you are, if you're pale, if you have an olive skin tone, the rule of thumb is always try and go for a bronzing tone that is 1 or 2 shades darker than your natural skin. Don't take it any warmer than that. And there is enough of a range out there on the market now that will allow you to find such a product. So keeping it at the jaw, at the cheekbone, and at the temple. And then whatever's left on your brush down the center of the face, what that will do is just take the edge off. You don't want to have a completely light section in the middle. It's to give a natural contoured effect. When you contour as well, you can't have dark without light. So I'm going to take a little bit of a radiance powder and we'll bring that over the cheekbone. when you're using any kind of highlighting or radiance powder, try and choose one that is not heavy with glitter. What you're looking for is more of a smoothing sheen. That's great, thank you. Same again there on the cheekbone, just give you that lovely lift. And I will come back and use a little bit more of this to finish off contouring once I've applied the eyeshadow. Okay, so for the eyes, we're going to begin always by structuring the eyebrows, because the eyebrows are going to be the guideline to the definition and how big your eye makeup is. So using a product that's going to give you enough control, try and not use a powder or something that's more pencil orientated, will allow you to give a really clean finish and keep you in control of it. But following the natural arc of your brow, don't draw what isn't there, and keeping it soft. So your brow should have a nice arch towards the end and then just taper out and vanish almost to nothing. And once you've applied your brow product, always use a grooming brush or a mascara wand to groom back through. And what that will do is drag the product and smooth it over each hair. Now, when it comes to applying your summer eye makeup or any eye makeup in general, a really good tip is actually to apply your mascara first. And the reason I like to do that is the mascara, like your eyebrow, is a guideline to how strong your makeup look is going to be. What you can then do is add a little bit more mascara at the end to give you the extra definition that you might want. So I'm going to take some mascara first of all, in a nice deep black, and use it to give definition on the eyelashes. And when you're using your mascara, make sure you get every single eyelash to give you that really lovely splayed effect. And if you do get a little bit of mascara on your eyelid or on the face anywhere, just get a clean dry cotton bud and just lift it off. Because we've got a lovely warm bronze complexion, what I want to do is work out a softer, fresh finish on the eyelid to give us a really light summer look. So try and use pastel tones, light neutral colours that have got a lovely sheen to them that'll give you iridescence on the eye whilst maintaining definition. When you apply your eyeshadow, try and not dust it on. If you can use a small applicator or a detail brush and place the colour on first of all, what will happen is the pigments in the eyeshadow will grip to where you place them onto the eyelid, and then you buff them out at the end, smoothing away any edges. So always lift in the brow, and also use the same lifting colour to the inside corner of the eye. Bring it up slightly. That's great. And by placing the shadow on like this, you're creating pockets of colour that you can then buff out in a moment. So we lift at the brow and at the inside corner. You then take your base colour, or what I like to call your flash colour. That's the colour that when you blink will be visible on the movable eyelid. So I'm going to choose a slightly more red toned pastel and place that directly at the ball of the eye. These eyeshadows here are a smoothing iridescent finish, so that means that when we buff them out, although we'll have definition and contour on the eye, it'll be lovely and delicate and very, very summery. So the accent colour, or what we use to give the smoky effect at the edge of the eye, is the one that most people tend to have trouble with. What you want to do to get the perfect smolder on your eye is apply your shadow in a crescent moon shape at the edge of the eye, again pressing on. This will look a little bit weird, but don't worry, when we buff it out, it'll look amazing. So you're placing your colour on like that. Then what you're going to do, if you bring your head back for me, that's great. Then you're going to buff that out to create the definition, and you'll move it to where you want the colour to end up. So when you're buffing your eyeshadow, nice and light, and always work from the outside in. And you want to use a brush that's got looser fibres in this one, looser hairs, so they're not too tight. And what they will do is just tickle the colour and smooth it out for you. And it's all about delicate, barely touching it strokes. Because we're creating this really fresh summer look, what I want to do is to take a little bit more of that deeper colour and buff underneath the eye. Look up there for me. Rather than using a strong eyeliner, we're going to first of all create a halo of colour nice and loosely underneath the eye. So it's very soft focus, very fresh on the model, and very, very easy to work with. What we're going to do now is use definition by using black eyeshadow, so it's really going from one extreme to the other. This is a really good technique rather than using eyeliner inside the eye. If you use a black eyeshadow, it will hold in place longer, the powder will last longer. It's really important that it's a matte eyeshadow and not an iridescent eyeshadow. Look up there for me. So you literally take your detail liner brush and you're placing the colour onto the waterline. On the upper eyeline, you want to get right into the root of the eyelash and just smoulder it along. When you're applying your eyeshadow, if you get any kind of little bits of fall, anything like that, don't worry about it. That happens, it's totally normal. Get your foundation brush, whatever applicator you use to apply your foundation brush, and buff it underneath the eye. What that will do, first of all, is it will lift up any little bits of fall and it will replace it with colour. Don't use your finger or anything like that, because what that will do is activate the pigment. If you then need to take a little bit more of your foundation after you've done that and buff it back on, there's nothing wrong with that. Another option is to do your eye makeup first and then do your base after. So that way you have a lovely intense eye, but it's still got the freshness of a summer makeup look around it. Okay, so for the lips, what I want to do is use a slightly more intense lip liner and layer it with a brighter gloss. So you're getting almost that kind of tone-on-tone lip colour, creating a slight ombre effect. When you use your lip liner though, don't leave a solid line. You want to leave a faded line, keep it nice and fresh, but the lip liner will hold the product in place. And if you colour the lip in with the product, that way you never end up with a visible line. And then we'll just take a lovely fresh gloss. Don't be scared to choose colour in your lip glosses, because they are transparent. They will allow you to be a bit more playful and adventurous with your colours because they're not a solid pigment. So that there is your lovely warm bronze complexion and contour with a beautiful fresh eye with intensity and a pop of colour on the lips for your perfect summer look.